Here's how I traveled to Malindi, Kenya on a budget of 9,250 Kenya shillings per person for 3 days and 2 nights. Please note that this cost does not include accommodation. Malindi is close to Watamu, my hometown, so I have many relatives and friends who can host me, and this time round a friend hosted me. Having said that, it's important to note that Malindi has a variety of accommodation. Just log into airbnb.com and get accommodation from as low as $30 per night. So back to the trip. I boarded Simba Coach bus at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night and I paid 1,500 Kenya shillings to Malindi town. We got to Malindi at 6 a.m. and I took a bike to my accommodation for 50 Kenya shillings. I freshened up, had breakfast and was ready to explore Malindi. I took a motorbike for 100 Kenya shillings and went to Silver Sands Beach where I enjoyed a nice swim in the Indian Ocean and got to chill and enjoy the beautiful breeze at no cost. I then took a bike from the beach back to my accommodation at 100 Kenya shillings where I got to freshen up. After freshening up, I hopped into a tuk-tuk for 100 Kenya shillings that took me to Vasco da Gama Pillar. They charge an entry fee at Vasco da Gama, so I paid 100 Kenya shillings as a Kenyan and a resident. But non-residents pay 500 Kenya shillings. Here, I learned about the sea explorer called Vasco da Gama. He was the first man to sail directly from Europe to India, and as a mark of discovery, he erected a pillar in Malindi town that is to date a historical site, the Vasco da Gama Pillar. Within the historical site, there are amazing views of the Indian Ocean. I enjoyed this excursion for 30 minutes and after, took a tuk-tuk for 100 Kenya shillings to the bus stop. I boarded a matatu to River Sabaki Bridge that charged me 50 Kenya shillings. At Sabaki, I took a tuk-tuk to Hell's Kitchen in Marafa, and this they charged 300 Kenya shillings per person. On arrival at Hell's Kitchen, I had to pay an entry fee of 200 Kenya shillings as a Kenyan and another 500 Kenya shillings for a tour guide to take me around. Residents and non-residents visiting Hell's Kitchen pay 300 and 500 Kenya shillings respectively. At Hell's Kitchen, I got to learn more about Kenya's own Grand Canyon. The canyon is called Hell's Kitchen because during the day, temperatures are so high like hell. Although the canyon is a natural phenomenon caused by erosion, the locals have a different reason of how the canyons were formed. They believe that this village had very rich people with so many animals that would produce milk. The villagers are believed to have misused the milk that was in plenty, and they would bathe and wash their clothes with it. There were poor people around this rich village, but the rich villagers never helped them, and so God was angry and punished them with heavy rains that sank the rich village with all its inhabitants. So on the canyons, the white color the locals believe is milk, the red color is blood, the black stones they believe was the waste from the animals. This is, however, just a belief. Each color you see is rich in minerals, white is rich in calcium, red is iron, and yellow is sulfur. It was interesting just to walk through the canyons, and the highlight was getting to view the sun setting. Just when it started getting dark, I got into my tuk-tuk that waited for me, and I paid another 300 Kenya shillings back to Sabaki. I then boarded a matatu to Malindi town at 50 Kenya shillings, and on arrival, I took a bike from the stage to my accommodation for 50 Kenya shillings and called it a day. Watch out for part 2 next. And as always, remember to be kind to one another, love one another, and treasure every minute you spend with one another because tomorrow is never promised. Ciao!